Part 65. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 641. Chapter 641 Reward. However, Lu Jing did not chase him out. Instead, he turned to Sun Ying'er and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Jian'er's temperament is a bit too simple. He doesn't know anything. He has learned bad things from others. But don't worry, and someday I will definitely find time to teach him a lesson later." Sun Ying'er just laughed now. "Lu Jing, your three views are really upright." After Lu Jing heard this, he patted his chest. "That's right, although my brain has been a little hard to use since I was a child, I have received a high-end education since I was a child. If I don't have these three views, then the traditional you'll definitely be laughed at if you go out." But after saying this, he came to Sun Ying'er's side in a humble manner, "And, am I very powerful and have very upright views? As an aunt, when you see that your nephew is so good, are you right? It's a bit gratifying. If you're gratified, then why don't you give me some rewards?" Lu Jing has been by Sun Ying'er's side these past few days. The purpose is to replace the big gold tooth. Lu Jing did this because he felt that if Sun Ying'er and Sunian secretly fixed his teeth behind their backs, they would probably use this as an excuse to kick him away. Lu Jing has been observing the sales of this clothing these days. Sunian and Sun Ying'er named the brand, SY. Now this SY has become the best-selling brand this month, and may even become the most fashionable brand. After he told his old man what Sun Ying'er said about emotions, the old man immediately slapped his thigh hard. It is said that these two women are not simple. And let him stay with these two women and study hard. "What reward?" Sun Ying'er asked knowingly. When Lu Jing heard this tone, he immediately knew there was an opportunity, and then he cleared his throat. "Aunt, my dear aunt, don't you really think I'm hanging around in front of you with such big gold teeth every day, dazzling?" Sun Ying'er indeed feels so. And this guy kept dangling in front of her like this. It was deliberately so dazzling. Sun Ying'er just didn't want to let this guy succeed, so she decided in her heart that even if Lu Jing blinded her eyes, then she won't let go. Let's see who can outlast whom. "Auntie, although you are in your youth now, your eyes are very important. If your eyes are damaged by me at such a young age, what should you do? It is not worth it." While Lu Jing said this, he diligently rubbed Sun Ying'er's back and shoulders. Such a good attitude. Asked what else could Sun Ying'er do, she opened the drawer of her desk and took out a bottle of something. "Put this on your teeth and your teeth will become whiter." Lu Jing's eyes suddenly straightened. "You didn't get me a big gold tooth. Don't you feel it?" Lu Jing shook his head. "Sun Ying'er, look at how big your teeth are and how much gold weighs. If it is real gold, then you will definitely not be able to adapt." Lu Jing stiffened when he heard this, and then he looked like he suddenly realized, "Yes, why didn't I think of this?" Sun Ying'er knew how uncomfortable it was to change teeth, so she deliberately found some special paint to dye Lu Jing's teeth. "And Sun, you are so kind, I will go and get it now." Lu Jing picked up the things on the table and rushed towards the bathroom. While walking, he said, "Ha ha ha, my handsome smile is finally coming back, ha ha ha. If you succeed in this way." It really made Sun Ying'er regret giving the thing to him. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 642. Chapter 642 The excellent tradition of the Li family, cheating. Compared to Sun Ying'er's busy schedule, Sunian is very free. Lie at home every day, doing nothing. They are all quietly raising their babies. Although it is a bit boring. But Sunian knew very clearly that the mo in her belly had just implanted and was not very stable yet. She must be more careful. But it's really boring. Lee Baikin stayed at home with him for the next few days, but after all, he was the president of the Lee Group and had to deal with a lot of things. So when Lee Baikin came out of the study, seeing Sunian lying on the sofa, staring at the ceiling with empty eyes, I felt a little uncomfortable. Let me go for a walk with you. When he heard Lee Baikin's words, Sunian looked at him and shook his head. What's wrong? It's nothing, I'm just worried that you'll get bored staying at home. Sunian shook his head when he heard this. How could that be? I don't feel bored at all. Go out, haha, if my guess is correct, the so-called heroine is waiting outside, just wanting to harm my Mo. How could a smart person like me give her a chance? He hugged the person into his arms. I plan to tell the old man and let him manage the work, so that I can accompany you wholeheartedly. Dad is so old, it's not good for his health to worry too much. Lee Baikin chuckled lightly. With his spirit of still fighting with Mr. Lin, I think the company's affairs should not burden him. Lee Baikin had planned this for a long time. In his last life, he watched Sunian suffer from morning sickness. I shed tears while vomiting, which makes me feel uncomfortable. Now that I am by her side, I will definitely not let her endure such a thing alone. But Sunian thought of how the old man was worried in his previous life. If you don't believe it, then I'll call him now. After saying this, Lee Baikin took out his mobile phone. Lee Baikin felt that since Mo Bao who came out in the future might cheat his father, he was also the son of the old man. As a son, it was normal for him to cheat his father. Sure enough, after Lee Baikin finished explaining his plan, the old man cursed on the phone. You guy, you are really useless. I thought back then, I took good care of the company and your mother. This is like a weasel. 1 liter is worth less than 1 liter. If it weren't for Nian's sake, then how could I agree? Why does Sunian think that the old man just seizes the opportunity to want Lee Baikin? Thinking of this, Sunian secretly glanced at Lee Baikin beside him. I have sorted out all the company's documents, and I will ask Josu to send them to you later. The old man on the phone immediately lost his composure when he heard this. What do you mean? Are you sure I will agree? What if I don't agree? Now I still feel that it is better for me to take care of Nian than for you to take care of her. Well done. Dad, I'm a little tired. Huh, the old man snorted and hung up. It seemed as if he didn't want to talk to Lee Baikin for a second. But at this time, Sunian was curious. What if Dad doesn't agree? Josu is already outside the old house now. Sunian. The old man who co-authored it has no choice. Then why did Lee Baikin need to call? Just send it directly. Lee Baikin's lips curled up slightly. The reason why I didn't ask Josu to send it directly is because I felt that as a son, I still have to take the old man's mood into consideration. How do I feel? It's just a formality. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 643. Chapter 643. Just the tip of the iceberg. Lee Baikin has been busy these days, just sorting out things so that he can hand over the company to the old man. Be able to be with you all the time. Sunian sighed. After knowing that Sunian was afraid of Lan Ren's plot, he took Sunian directly to the old house. And spent 1 billion to buy all the surrounding land and open up the land. You must know that although the old house is on the outskirts of the city, it is surrounded by older generations of wealthy families. It took a lot of effort to buy it. The news spread quickly. People couldn't help but marvel. This Lee Baikin is really generous. Some people even started to spread that in order to win over those houses, Lee Baikin directly told those houses that as long as they sold the houses, the conditions would be whatever they wanted. For a time, Sunian became the envy of all women. And Lanmin naturally became the object of everyone's jokes. Sunian doesn't know these things. Sunian was taking a leisurely walk with Lee Baikan at the moment. These houses all belong to our family. Think about what you want to build or what you want our family to have. I'll ask someone to build it for you. Sunian laughed when he heard this. Ha ha ha, what you say is that, why do I feel that I am not the evil female supporting character, but the heroine? No, no, only the heroines of Shuangwan are treated like this. Mary Sue heroines do not receive such treatment. You must know that Mary Sue heroines are constantly abused. If the male protagonist gives anything, the female protagonist of Mary Sue will say, no, 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 I can't do this. But, it's really unlucky, so unlucky. Lee Baikan, who was hugging Sunian, laughed when he heard this. I really don't know what to build. Think slowly and don't be in a hurry. Anyway, we will live in this place for a lifetime. When he heard these words, Sunian looked at Lee Baikan. Lee Baikan's life. By the way, what should I do to change Lee Baikan's fate? When she thought about this, the scenes of Mo Bao changing her destiny in her previous life appeared in her mind. This made Sunian's body shrink. Of course Lee Baikan understood what Sunian was thinking of. Our life will be very long, don't be in a hurry, think slowly, and don't stick to any ideas at all. You can build a church today, a horse farm tomorrow, whatever you want to build, because this is you can have your home wherever you want. If there is not enough space, then sell some more land, as long as you are happy. After Lee Baikan said this, he kissed her eyebrows. Do not know why. Sunian's panicked heart completely calmed down. Let's keep walking. If we delay like this, it will delay your sleep. Sunian nodded obediently. Then continue walking forward. Lee Baikan also breathed a sigh of relief subconsciously. Now Lee Baikan feels that it is right for him to leave all the company's affairs in the hands of the old man and stay with Sunian. Pregnant women just like to think wildly. But when I think of this, Lee Baikan's heart couldn't help but feel tight. The reason why this is the case is that Lee Baikan thought of Sunian in his previous life. What was Sunian thinking when she was pregnant in her previous life? Even if he dreamed some fragments. But Lee Baikan knew very clearly that what he dreamed of was just the tip of the iceberg. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 644. Chapter 644. I can't explain it. Sunian's early pregnancy symptoms. To feel sleepy. Whenever Sunian felt sleepy, Lee Baikan would hold her and coax her to sleep. When Sunian falls asleep, he will stay close to her, waiting for her to wake up. While Sunian was sleeping, Lee Baikan was not idle either. Just supplementing all kinds of pregnancy knowledge on the side. Although Lee Baikan knew very well that cramming in knowledge at this time was actually just cramming. There is no way, who would have thought that that brat Mo Bao would come so soon. He was not given any time to prepare at all. Perhaps Lee Baikan was too serious and didn't notice that the little woman next to him woke up at some point. Sunian looked at the man next to him who was reading seriously. From time to time, I still take notes in the book with a pen. When you are pregnant, there is really a big difference between having a husband and not having a husband. Lee Baikan, who was taking notes, stopped. I remember that in my previous life, I was not so leisurely. I always had endless things to do. I could only take the time to ask the doctor what I should pay attention to. By the way, is it because I had such a miserable life in my last life that I have to start over again? Lee Baikan frowned slightly. Since the last time he fell asleep, he had not slept for many days. He is looking forward to it now. Looking forward to dreaming, but afraid of dreaming. Lee Baiken took a deep breath, then adjusted himself, put down the book in his hand, and looked at her with a smile on his face. Are you awake? Sunian yawned. Yeah. Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat? Sunian shook his head. Then I'll take you to wash up. After saying this, Lee Baiken picked him up and walked towards the bathroom. Since the past few days, Lee Baiken has carried Sunian to the bathroom every day and helped her wash herself. Sunian was certainly not used to it. Baiken, you really don't have to do this. I can really rely on myself now. If you really want to take care of me, then you can wait until the third trimester to take care of me. You don't understand this. By 8 months, your body will be heavy in a few months, and you can't make any mistakes. If I don't start hugging you from now on and do it step by step, by that time, if I suddenly hug you, what should you do if something goes wrong? So I need to practice slowly now. Your weight is increasing every month, so I will slowly become more proficient in holding you. You have to know that just because you are energetic now, it does not mean that you will still be energetic in the third trimester of pregnancy. Sunian was stunned when he heard this. How to say this? It seems that there is indeed no problem. The logic is normal. The books have said that edema and cramps will occur in the third trimester of pregnancy. Think about it, you will feel uncomfortable at that time, but your husband is of no use to me. How good your mood will be. This reminded Sunian of her last trimester of pregnancy, which was indeed very uncomfortable. So, I can only slightly offend you, my beloved, by having to practice with me. Sunian came back to his senses and looked at Lee Baiken's face. Why do I feel like you are deceiving me? Fooling. Lee Baiken wrung out the towel and gently wiped her face and hands. What can I do to deceive you now? You have my child in your belly now, and is there anything wrong with what I said? After wiping it clean, Lee Baiken kissed Sunian gently on the face. Rather than saying that I still fooled you, it's better to say that your patience with me is getting worse and worse now, but I just want you to practice with me. When you ask for something, you just push back and forth. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 645. Chapter 645. Habits are formed slowly. There is a saying that once you are pregnant, you will be stupid for 3 years. But Sunian was just 1 month pregnant. It's not like he became stupid so quickly. You're running around in circles with me again. Lee Baiken picked him up again and carried him back to the bed. Go around in circles, tell me how I go around in circles with you. What's the benefit of me going around in circles with you here? And the old man is still watching eagerly to take care of you. If I really want to play tricks on you, if you complain to the old man even a little bit, then I will be forced to leave you. Under such circumstances, honey, even if I have 10 courages, I will not dare to play tricks on you this year. Recently, the old man has been complaining a lot since he took over the company. Just like a child. However, Lee Baiken could feel that the old man's complaint was just a joke. It was nothing like his previous life. After he died, he was forced to stand up, with a sad look on his face. But I'm not used to it. After all, Sunian is an adult. Moreover, Sunian has known that no matter what happens, the only person he can rely on is himself. This is how it is now. Sunian is really weird sometimes. It's so weird that I can't really describe it. Habits are developed slowly. Lee Baiken paused after saying this. Just like my habit of kissing you every day, if I don't kiss you now, I will really feel uncomfortable. Sunian looked at Lee Baiken. At this moment, he spoke in a coaxing tone. Sunian felt that Lee Baiken would definitely be a good father. Okay, I finally understand. I am no match for you, and there is no way I can defeat you. Sunian couldn't help but mutter. These words made Li Baikan's lips twitch slightly. Then he hugged Sunian and returned to bed. Now that I'm awake, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for a walk, watch a movie, or just stay in the bedroom like this? Sunian was too lazy to move now. Just stay like this, I don't want to move. Okay. Li Baikan kissed her forehead and hugged her. At this moment, Li Baikan could clearly feel the dependence of the woman in his arms on him. It can be said that she relies more and more on herself these days. But Li Baikan was not happy. If she were like this when she was reborn. So what was she thinking in her last life? In her previous life, she had to endure physical discomfort and face dangerous situations. When he thought of this, Li Baikan hugged the person in his arms tighter. Whatever you want to eat tonight, I'll ask the chef to make it for you. I don't know, I always want to sleep lately. Mo Bao in this life seems to be more obedient than in the previous life. The Mo Bao in my previous life started to make me uncomfortable at this time, but in this life I just feel sleepy. In my previous life, I seem to have started to feel uncomfortable as soon as I was tested for pregnancy. I still remember clearly that during that time, I really didn't want to eat, but I didn't have the energy to eat. When the people on the board of directors saw my lack of energy, they all started talking. He thought I was easy to bully, so he forced himself to eat. Maybe it's because there aren't that many things to do in this life. I just need to raise my baby quietly at home every day, and don't need to do anything else. It may also be that Mo Bao in this life is more considerate. Sunian couldn't help but yawned again at this time. In fact, Sunian was very panicked. After all, the reaction in this life is different from the reaction in the previous life, but we have come to this point, no matter whether the child in the belly is Mo Bao or not. They are all her children. They are all children connected to her by blood, and she cannot let anything happen to her children. Auntie is here. I can't write anymore, my head is confused. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 646. Chapter 646. Li Jianhong, the child in Nianyan's belly should not be like Baikan. Although Li Baikan had already made a guess in his mind. But now I heard Sunian say it with my own ears. At this moment he really felt like he couldn't breathe. Forcing yourself to eat? Go and face those guys on the board. At this moment, Li Baikan wanted to kill someone. During this period, he kicked all the so-called directors out of the company one by one. He originally thought it was enough, but now that he heard Sunian's words, he felt that he was really soft. You should let those people understand what it means to be worse than dead. What's wrong, Baikan? Sunian's voice brought Li Baikan's thoughts back, and he immediately put away all his strength. It's nothing, I just thought of a series of things and lost my mind. Are you worried about the company? Hearing this, Li Baikan quickly explained, how could it be possible? How could I not trust the company? The old man has more work experience than me. But when he said this, Li Baikan paused. If possible, I really hope the old man can make some mistakes. Why? Sunian asked curiously. Since I took over the company, the old man has often made trouble. If the old man is wrong, then I can also let the old man have a taste of being faulted, so that he may be able to make fewer mistakes in the future. These words made Sunian laugh. What if Dad gets angry and finds fault with you more in the future? Li Baikan thought for a moment. Just pick it. Anyway, I picked it once and made the old man feel uncomfortable once. Anyway, even if I don't make a mistake, the old man will not let me go. Now that I have made a mistake, I have made a profit. This theory, how to put it, it really makes sense. Li Jianhong, who was working on documents in the company at the moment, started sneezing inexplicably. Lao Shen, who was following him, saw Li Jianhong like this and immediately asked with concern, "Master, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling uncomfortable? If you don't say anything, just take a break." "No, I'm not feeling uncomfortable. I just sneezed." "Are you making such a fuss?" Li Jianhong glanced at Lao Shen with disgust. It's surprising that he has only taken over the company for a long time. If there is news that he is not feeling well at this time, and that Brat knows about it, he might think that he is faking it. Besides, he is going to be a grandfather soon, so he must behave like a grandfather. Old Shen laughed when he heard this, and then went to pour a cup of hot tea for Li Jianhong. "Master, I understand that you are interested, but you still have to pay attention to your health. After all, the young master will be out in a few months. The young master and the young mistress are very busy, and in the end they still need you to take care of the children. So you still have to take good care of your body." Hearing this, Li Jianhong obviously had a smile on his face, but he still snorted coldly, "I just hope that the child in Nian's belly won't be as disobedient as the Bradley Baiken. If there is another one, then you might be off." "Sir, if you say this, I will avenge the young master." "What's wrong with the young master? No one outside knows how powerful our young master is." Okay, I won't tell you any more. You have been spoiled by this brat since you were a child. No matter how much I tell you, it will be of no use. In your heart, he is still good." Li Jianhong Duan, after taking a sip of the hot tea next to him, he continued to read the documents. The whole office was filled with smiles. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 647. Chapter 647. I came up with a solution. Su Nian's idle life was broken by Sun Ying'er's phone call. Nian, how are you physically and mentally now? How much do you eat every day? Are you feeling uncomfortable during pregnancy?" Su Nian knew what was going on when he heard Sun Ying'er's words, "I'm fine, sister. If something happened, just tell me directly. Don't worry. Is your body really okay?" Sun Ying'er's voice was still very careful. This made Su Nian conclude that something must have happened, and it was still very difficult. "As a sister, how could I lie to my sister? And if I lie to you now, if something happens in the future, then sister, you won't tell me. Am I so stupid?" Sun Ying'er was relieved after hearing this, and then started talking about the business. "Lin Na copied our clothes and quickly sold our same style clothes. The Lin family is a leader in the clothing field. So they have an absolute industrial chain and an absolute distribution organization. Selling similar clothes, the sales speed is even faster than their original version." Although Sun Ying'er is not the kind of young lady who only knows how to spend money, she has little experience in this area, so she is a little panicked. "Sister, I understand what you mean, don't panic now, it's not a big deal." Sun Ying'er on the other side of the phone felt relieved when she heard this. Although Su Nian's words of "it's not a big deal" may be words of comfort. Actually, it's useless for them to do this. In fact, when you ask me whether I should guard against Lan Min, it's actually the same reason. What we have been selling since childhood has not been design, but a brand, which can even be said to be a spirit. The reason why it is so popular now can almost be said to be my sister. You decisively give up a man who should give up, which resonates. It can even be said that the clothes we sell are based on your pain, sister, and other people do not feel this way. When Su Nian said this, there was a hint of joking in his eyes. "Sister, don't forget, these so-called designs were no more than in their eyes. Nian, have you thought of a solution?" Su Nian smiled. Lin Na looked at the reports from various places. She used the Lin family's channel design to instantly steal the sales volume from Su Nian and the others. Lin Na looked at the reports from various places. Sales everywhere are booming. For the clothing industry, The most important thing is to create popular items. Even if you don't have the ability to create popular items, you can still have the ability to distribute goods quickly. Just get the opponent's clothes and quickly print them out. By quickly distributing goods through all channels, you can also turn other people's popular products into your own. The Lin family also relied on this ability to achieve such great achievements and huge benefits in the clothing industry. Sunian, you are indeed very smart, but what's the use of being smart? Running a company is not a child's playhouse. Lin Na looked at the numbers on the report and couldn't help but think about it. Sunian asked them to, after making so much money, even the spring goal may be reached in these few days. Should I worry about this and be a little gentler on him? After all, he is a kind person. When she thought of this, Lin Na smiled. The next moment, her office was hurriedly pushed away. It's not good, Mr. Lin, we have a wave of returns in many places. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 648. Chapter 648 Counterattack. Lin Na knew that Sunian had fought back when she heard this. She was a little curious as to what method Sunian would choose to fight back, so she immediately said in a nonchalant tone, "What's wrong?" The man quickly walked up to Lin Na with his tablet and said, "Mr. Lin, look, someone has posted something online." Someone posted something online. Lin Na calmly took the tablet from her subordinate. It is a post from an emotional blogger. Hey, I really don't know what to think now, there is a very popular dress now. Some random words were printed on it and it became popular. Ha ha ha, no wonder women's rights are always being awakened every day, why are they so rubbish? Don't say I'm talking nonsense, don't think I'm trying to tell lies, use your cerebellum and think carefully. Sun Ying's clothes represent that she will not be a man's licking dog in the future, and she will live her own life in the future. This ignited public sentiment, so their clothes became popular, and I can understand what it means to buy these clothes now. But you buy pirated clothes, haha, what kind of awakening are you doing? Awakening means selling pirated clothes, so I don't think you should buy any clothes. Just get a sign and put the words you want to hang on your chest. That's great, it's not a waste of money. When I saw this Weibo, Lin Na's face suddenly darkened. What does the Sunian mean? Doesn't she know the rules of the clothing industry? It seems that Sunian really doesn't know what the so-called rules are. Now we are reporting from all over the country that people are constantly returning goods, and our reputation has already had problems. If this continues, our reputation may be linked to fake products. Mr. Lin, what should we do now? Fake goods? This is a taboo in the clothing industry. Wait a moment, let me think about it, let's look at the current situation. It's useless for you to be so anxious. I have to know the situation. If I don't know the situation, then I have no way to think of it. What a good idea. When the man heard this, he fell silent. Then Lin Na continued to read the news on the internet. Some people on the internet soon revealed that Lin was fake. This Lin group is really abominable. He actually copied clothes. I don't agree with what's said upstairs at all. This is obviously robbery, a standard bandit behavior, but a similar style has emerged within a few days, and the Lin group did not have such a style before. I know some inside information. Sunian and Sun Ying opened a company. Yes, it was a clothing company this time, but this clothing company was a bit small, which is understandable. I guess that both the Li family and the Sun family thought that these were just two small businesses. The girl was playing around. After all, you can tell from these designs that these designs are not great designs. Even before this, no one thought it was a design at all, but the Lin group stole things at this time. Yes, this is what two little girls were doing for fun. To put it bluntly, I really feel that the Lin Group is insulting us. After all, we bought these clothes because of the spirit of Sunian and Sun Ying but the Lin Group has polluted this spirit. Yes, and the Lin Group's clothes are even more expensive than Sunian's. Haha, this Lin Group really treats us as our grievances. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 649. Chapter 649. Did the Lin family lose like this? Lin Na really didn't expect that things would develop like this. She just watched helplessly as people on the internet poured dirty water on Lin. Lin Na is certainly not the kind of person to sit still and wait for death, so as soon as she reacted, she immediately bought trolls and various marketing accounts. But it's of no use now. It's simply impossible to control. Public opinion online is really growing. Such a situation has been seen by many people. After all, the circle of wealthy families is so big, and Sunian is so popular. This also includes Huo Linyuan. Huo Linyuan was a little surprised when he heard the report from his men, the Lin family lost so easily. There is currently no sign of the Lin family fighting back. Huo Linyuan knows better than anyone how problematic this company is. Moreover, the profits of this clothing are not large, and new products have to be released every season. Huo Linyuan actually didn't care much about this company. When Sunian was strong in this company, he was more uncomfortable because he felt uncomfortable that he would lose to a woman like Sunian. But now he understands that this Sunian is not a simple person. Is Mr. Li taking any action? All the affairs of the Li family are now taken care of by the old man of the Li family, and the old man loves his daughter-in-law very much. For this reason, the Li family is currently fully escorting Sunian and the others. Huo Linyuan listened and tapped slowly with his finger bones. I really didn't expect that Li Baikan would give up the company for a woman. When Huo Linyuan said this, his tone was full of contempt. It is true that for ordinary people, it is normal for a wife to be pregnant and to take leave or quit her job to accompany her during the pregnancy, but they are different. Although they are currently sitting in this position, I don't know how many people want to pull them out of this position, and I don't know how many families want to annex their company. He doesn't believe that shopping malls are like battlefields. Li Baikan doesn't know. The most uncomfortable person at this moment is Lan Min next to him. Although Li Baikan's behavior is a joke to a man like Huo Linyuan, it is a great temptation to a woman. After all, that woman does not want to be the woman who plays tricks on the princes. Although Mr. Li is powerful, he is already old. This is also our opportunity. Huo Linyuan's eyes flashed with calculation. Immediately began to discuss matters with his subordinates. After Huo Linyuan finished his instructions, Lan Min's voice rang out, "Linyuan, if I were pregnant, would you stay with me like Li Baikan?" After saying this, Lan Min looked at Huo Linyuan hopefully. She hopes to hear the answer she wants. But Huo Linyuan frowned after Lan Min said this. "Why do you have such thoughts, Lan Min? What's going on with you now? Why are you like this? Why do you like to make trouble so much now? Have you forgotten that the reason why I fell in love with you in the first place was because I felt that you had less things to do than other women? The way you are now really disappoints me." These words really made Lan Min feel as if he had fallen into hell. Huo Linyuan is really in no mood to care about this Lan Ren now. He only has one thought. How can we make Li Baikan and the others pay the price? End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 650. Chapter 650. Time will tell everything. A single hair move affects the whole body. All forces are ready to move. but Lee Baiken was walking around wearing home clothes and holding a simulation doll. Sunian looked at Lee Baiken like this. These days, Lee Baiken has been learning how to be a good father. Learn the same thing. For example, I am now learning how to hold a child. In order to learn this, he has been hugging the simulation doll all day long, with no intention of taking a break. Are not you tired? It's only 7 or 8 pounds, how can I be tired? Lee Baiken, who was holding the simulation doll and swinging around, stopped. If I weren't worried that I would accidentally drop you, I would even hold you to practice. These words made Sunian successfully remember the time before when Lee Baiken was walking with him in his arms. And while kissing, they talked about love. These all made Sunian blush. You just need to give birth to the child intuitively. As long as you give birth to the child, you don't have to worry about other things. If other men said this, it might be hypocritical, but Lee Baiken meant it sincerely. He wanted Mo Bao to be born and make up for Mo Bao well in this life. But he still hopes that he will be the most important person in Sunian's heart. I don't want Mo Bao to threaten his status after he comes out. But in Sunian's eyes, Lee Baiken was just joking now. Lee Baiken is really becoming more and more talkative now, ha ha ha. He is a grown man who has to be busy with so many things every day. How can he have time to take care of children? You must know that many normal men don't like to take care of children. Hey, as expected, men are all the same, whether they have money or not. Lee Baiken raised his eyebrows slightly after hearing this. He knew very well that now was not the time to explain these words. Time would tell. Next, Lee Baiken took the attitude of negotiating a contract worth hundreds of millions and began to make various plans. Change diapers, feed, and dress children. Looking at the various plans, Sunian was stunned. Is this Lee Baiken serious? One day suddenly in Sunian's second month of pregnancy, morning sickness came. Although Lee Baiken was mentally prepared. But when I saw Sunian's uncomfortable look, I felt very sad. Even though he is different from the dream and can really get close to Sunian, he is still useless now. He could only talk nonsense beside him, and at most he could pat Sunian gently on the back. He can do nothing but this. Lee Baiken now feels that he is really a waste. Compared to Lee Baiken's anxiety, Sunian was very calm. After all, I have experienced it once in my previous life. I have been mentally prepared for this life. But when Sunian finished vomiting and raised his head, he was stunned. The reason why she was stunned was because she saw tears on Lee Baiken's face. The moment he saw the tears, Sunian really almost thought he was blinded. Baiken Sunian couldn't help but call out softly. As soon as Sunian finished speaking, Lee Baiken hugged her into his arms. I'm sorry, it's all my fault for making you suffer. If it hadn't been for me, you wouldn't have suffered. I'm really sorry. Lee Baiken said this not only to Sunian now, but also to Sunian in his previous life. Although it is a novel, Lee Baiken knew that he was the source of all her pain. Even though Sunian has lived 2 lifetimes, she is still a person and a living person, so when she heard Lee Baiken's words, how could she not be touched in her heart? End of this chapter.